Well, it's that time of year again when the trees begin to sprout some leaves and the Stratosphere Lounge comes back to roost in its home here in beautiful downtown Sherman Oaks. Hi, everybody. I'm Bill Whittle. This is your host for the Stratosphere Lounge. I was wondering what was lighting up back there, that white line. It's a shaft of sunlight, is what that is. It's actual sunlight out there coming in through the window. Not too much, thank God, because otherwise I'll get some on me. Yeah, so it's good to be back again. This is I don't want to say it's a record, but it's getting there. I think it's 5 shows in a row, six, something like that. It's a tough thing because it's not so much that obviously that I don't want to do the show. It's just the time is occasionally rough because out here at Pacific time, 6 o'clock, there's a lot of things sometimes going on. But not this. It is not this day. So let's see. I guess everybody's doing well. Um, Let me see. I don't really have anything teed up to talk about. Um, did feel good to get that firewall out. As a matter of fact, I had a firewall that was going to go out that day. It's already recorded, called The Human Landscape. And then the Notre Dame fire happened, and I decided to jump on that. And I don't know. It was an interesting take because I I wanted to write it to the people of France because I kind of wanted it to be shared by them. Not so much for the hits, although I'll take them, but mostly because this everybody talks about, well, why don't they do something? 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 And most people think the answer is because they're afraid of these Muslim extremists. But that's not the reason. They're afraid of their own government. That's what they're afraid of. If somebody, I remember, I don't remember what it was, Germany or Finland or something. Somebody said something completely mild, like, I don't know if this much immigration is a good idea. Something like that. 6 months in jail. Or 6 weeks or whatever it was. And the thought occurred to me that somebody ought to say what is probably on most of the nation of France's mind, and since they can be thrown in jail for saying something that is absolutely true but against what you're told to be able to think. Steve Darrow got it right. It's wrong think. It's double plus ungood. Crime think is well. They need to exercise Crime Stop to in order to prevent this double plus ungood thought crime. Crime Stop was another brilliant piece of invention on the part of George Orwell. He said Crime Stop is the instinct that you develop after living in Ingsoc under English socialism. That once your mind starts to wander down what you suspect might be a dangerous path, you simply stop yourself from thinking about it. Crime Stop. So, yeah. Anyway, I haven't heard any more developments about the cathedral fire. I meant what I said about the presumption of innocence. It wasn't just a line, but I wouldn't be knocked out of my chair either if it turned out that there was pretty compelling evidence that it was arson, and that's only because of the string of fires and desecrations, 2 a day, something like 1,690 something since January 1st, 2019. If they if they certainly have the presumption of innocence, but they've also earned my suspicion. They've earned it. Yeah, it's doubled that now. Aesops said 800 attacks on churches in 2018. It's already at 1,600 or something for 2019. It's just crazy. So as I mentioned, I guess it was the Right Angle show on this. I have no doubt they'll be able to rebuild it, and that they will rebuild it. But I suspect they'll rebuild it more for the pressure of the tourism dollars than they will for the pressure of the people who would actually, use the church as a church. but it was nice to see, and actually a little bit amazing to see how much that we thought was gone was actually saved. I remember writing that line at the end, that final line, where I said, "You'll see it's either the smoke or the ashes of the Mona Lisa coming out of the windows of the Louvre." Just that's quite a thought, because I remember just feeling, watching this thing burn, I just felt this personal sense of loss. I wasn't kidding about that. My beautiful wife Natasha, who's been there several times, needless to say, when I told her the news, she just put her hands over her eyes and bent over double, just like like you would if you'd seen some horrible kind of a car crash or something. So anyway, it was good to be able to kind of blow that trumpet. It was also nice to have that First Amendment. I saw Pat, the British commentator. You guys are like my the Stratosphere Loungers are like my own personal Condell, Pat Condell. They're like my personal Alexa or Siri. It's like, who was the guy who did there? Dink, there it is. Anyway, he said that the only place you can speak your mind these days without fear of legal retribution is the United States of America. That's coming from a guy who lives in Great Britain, who simply is not allowed to say certain things. I was talking with my wife about this, and hey, honey, don't worry, it's not going to be too personal. But when I showed it to her that night when I got home, she expressed some concern about does this make you a target of these people? That's the kind of concern that a wife should have. It's a good question, and you're not only within your rights to ask it. It's made me very happy that you asked it. And my answer was, I don't really care. I mean, I don't worry about them. If I worry about what people might do based on what I say, I wouldn't be able to say anything. Which ties into something actually kind of interesting, although I didn't realize it the moment I was saying it. Was this it? Here, hang on a sec. I have got to unbind this bloody mute button from the spacebar. Sorry. Okay. Yeah, spacebar. I think that's probably, maybe I should use like escape or F12 or something like that. Anyway, as I was trying to say, there was something that came up that really did surprise me. And it was activated by hitting the spacebar. That's what makes this thing go. There's no need for me to put this on the screen other than just the fact that I was kind of blown away by it. So I was looking at the analytics for the Notre Dame video. And one of the analytics is likes versus dislikes. In other words, of all of the potential comments, up or down, what percentage of them were up? And for Notre Dame, the number of likes, and this is after 15,000 views, the number of likes is 99.7%. That's really astonishing. But here's what's even more astonishing. They're able to also tell my channel average. In other words, of all the videos that I have ever uploaded to YouTube, it averages what the likes versus dislikes is, what percentage of thumbs up, thumbs down were positive. And over the entire history of my channel, which has been there for 10 years, you would think a number that would be in the high 70s or even 80s would be great. My channel average likes over the length of time of my channel is 98.4% over 1,000 videos, 2,000 videos, some number. 98.4%. That includes stuff that Scott Ott is in. I mean, think about it. Yeah, I was absolutely floored. And somebody told me this many, many years ago, right around the time we left PJTV, which is coming up on, what, 4 years now? I wish everybody loved me. It's not that everybody loves me, it's that a small group of people love me, and I love them back. If everybody loved me, I'd be recording the Stratosphere Lounge from my golden throne that would be up in my Zeppelin that I would keep over the city of Los Angeles, sit there in my red leather plush chair with my smoking jacket and my pheasant, my copy of Chaucer and my pipe, and shout things down through a brass megaphone to the idiots down below. But really, I mean, I bring it up not so much to pat myself on the back, although I am obviously very proud of it. I bring it up because statistically, it seems almost unbelievable. But as I was saying many years ago, Owen Brennan, who used to be the producer at whoops, what the hell just happened? Hang on. Owen Brennan, who used to be the producer at PJTV, really one of the people I really knew what he was doing. Ended up running an internet advertising company, and he said, "What the hell is going on? Let's go to 60 hertz. Is that it? Is that got it? I don't know. I don't know what I did. I touched something. It's blocky. 50 hertz? No? What happened? God, this kind of thing drives me nuts. It drives me nuts. Aperture priority. Hang on. Hold on. Hold on. Come on down. For the love of God. There's a preset that works. Okay. Owen had an internet advertising company, and he told me that while there are a great number of people who have a lot bigger audience than me, he said he has never seen affinity numbers like we have here. And I say we because it's we. I'll get this camera. Just give me 1 second. And I was so the thing I was talking about Natasha with was I'm just consumed by reading history, and I'm really drawn to history of dark things in dark places, bad times. I read everything there was to read about the Nazis, about the communists, all kinds of horrible battles and all that stuff. And one of the things that I learned, although I wasn't looking for it, is having read so much history about it, I began to detect the pattern for how a society turns into a living hell. In other words, how does Germany go from a fundamentally civilized country to a country where people are being pulled out of their apartments and put into cattle cars and taken off to be gassed? And how do you live in a world where no matter how much of a party faithful you are, this is the difference between Stalin and Hitler. Hitler was loyal to the people who were loyal to him. Stalin just killed everybody. How do you live in a world where you've got an entire nation terrified of one man and nobody's got no one's going to kill him. No one actually takes the shot. They're all absolutely terrified of him. And what I learned was that there comes a point, and this is what I told Natasha. I said, there comes a point, we're not there yet, thank God. There comes a point when speaking out and saying something turns from social opprobrium into actual violence upon you. And if you wait so long that the that the general prevailing mood is so corrupt that you say something true that other people don't like, and they start, beating you up, then you've waited too long. And this was a case of this kind of peer pressure things. Why I was doing this thing for the people of France. Somebody needs to tell them. Somebody needs to tell all of Europe. You do not have to atone for crimes that you did not commit. You don't have to commit cultural suicide for a war you were on the right side of. Yeah, I'm a little surprised at how generous I was with the French, to be perfectly honest with you. But never kick a cheese-eating surrender monkey when they're down. And I can relate to that, certainly. And everything I said about them is true. It is a very beautiful culture. This is reinforced from multiple readings of Mark Twain, who commented on it. And certainly my wife is constantly talking about how just how clean everything is, how tidy and how well maintained. Mark Twain in 1866 or 67, when he was there, was saying the trees are planted at perfect intervals, and they're pruned by some kind of an architect. And he said there's no mud, there's no broken fences, there's no expectorant. Is that it for spit? No one's shooting wads of tobacco out on the streets like they did. Some visitor to New York or Boston or something came here in the late 1700s or early 1800s and said there were so many people just chewing tobacco and spitting it out on the street. He said it looked like the street was paved with oysters. That's an image. Anyway, so anyway, it was good to be there, and we'll see. It's doing really pretty well for these days, but because of these algorithms and Facebook and the sharing algorithms, 120,000 subscribers on 120,000 subscribers on YouTube, and it'll go out to, I don't know, 10,000 maybe, 15, 20, 10% if I'm lucky. Anyway, these kind of things would be doing 400,000 by now, back in the olden days. But we made a big mistake moving to somebody else's private property. We moved onto the private property of people that don't believe in private property, and that was a big old mistake. In any event, the website is up and running and humming, and Scott Ott is getting a little sleep. And that's not a good thing, but because it lowers, it creates unrealistic expectations. If he were to feel that he was getting enough sleep and also being paid for what he was worth, it's the kind of thing we just can't. You got to nip that kind of thing right in the bud. But I'm very, very glad that he has had a chance to relax after just a little relax. He's still knocking all these bug reports out. What is the word sleep? Why are you typing? Don't you have work to do? No, but I mean, seriously, I've said it many times before. It just needs to keep saying, being said. Scott's work on the website is heroic. It's heroic. And for those of you who are watching now, he's watching the show live, and he deserves just absolute incredible praise for what he did and how hard he worked, and how amazing it really is. How amazing it is to see all these members posting these stories. I try to read most of them, and it's great. So now we have to get that tent bigger. We are entering the period, which I think officially starts tomorrow, where it is the anniversary of us making the announcement that PJTV was going to close. It was April 20th, and I do not remember what year that was, Scotty. Was that 2014? 15? I don't remember. 15? That's 4 years ago. Hard to believe. Might even be 16 for all I know. In any event, to their credit, PJ is 2016. Wow, thanks. So 3 years ago, but to their credit, they allowed Scott and Steve and I to just spend the last 2 weeks there, just completely, pushing the fact that we were moving over to taking trifecta over to right angle and all the rest of it. So since a number of people buy annual subscriptions, we're starting to enter the period where those renew, and that'll help quite a bit. But when we get out of that period, we have to have a bigger member base, because all these other sources of revenue, like the NRA and all the doing videos for Truth Revolt, all that stuff's pretty much gone. So the reason I'm bringing this up at the beginning instead of the end is I think really I'm looking at this approval rating, at this affinity score, 98.4% for the entire channel is just unbelievable. And 99.7 for something as controversial as Notre Dame. So what that's telling me is, if 15,000 people have seen it, and the approval rate, the thumbs up, thumbs down ratio is 99.7. It's almost statistically impossible, but there it is. Then that's telling me that there's a large pool of people out there who really like this message, and we haven't reached yet. And I think what our best way to reach them is for you guys to do it. That way I don't have to work. I can just sit back on the beach, drink my margarita, and watch my wife shoot pictures and professionally, and let the members bring in new memberships. I'll come in once a month or so, just to want to run a white glove over the editing consoles. But seriously, it occurs to me that since these numbers are so high, the best people to convince other people to join are people who already think it's worthwhile, and that's mostly you guys. Dave Big Boutte goes all the way back to courage in eject, eject, eject. I remember that essay very, very well. And Eric Blake is always helping a guy out. He repeated my mantra that I say before every Stratosphere Lounge show, which is, I am good enough, I am smart enough, and doggone it, somebody somewhere likes me. Was that Al Franken? It was actually pretty funny. One of the few times that Al Franken was funny. Anyway, so I guess the question is, really, it's the great thing about Stratosphere Lounge is I get to just bounce things off of people. Who do you know who would like this stuff? I mean, this community thing is really why. I mean, I've always known it was a strong community. I've always known all that stuff, but 98.4%, and these are over 10,000, 15,000 views consistently, and many of these videos have had million views. So how do we get the people who have that kind of an attraction to this message on board? And I have some connections to people, but I realized, if every one of you could just kind of get a little liquored up, take like what would be good? Maybe a bunch of ball bearings in a sock, little ones though, light ones, and then just kind of go out and find some friends, bash them over the head with this thing, take their credit card number, call it in, and we're in business. Most of them will never even know. It'll be auto-billed. As you well know, for those of you who are on autopayforbillwhittle.com, it shows up on your monthly statement as bank adjustment. But anyway, we really do need to start growing this family. And if anybody has any good ideas about how to do that, I'm certainly ready to listen to them. Now, here is the point in the show where traditionally I mention how we're going to have to do a short show tonight, and then we go on for several hours after that. I do, however, have a stop I have to make at the vets. Well, obviously we call them the veterinarians, but my cats call them the veterinarians because they have a hard time with the V's. So I've got to get to the veterinarians tonight before they close at 8 and pick up some more insulin for Bean. So let's get to the questions. Why don't we, by gosh?